Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Sarasvati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Paramananda Madhavam. Okay, very good. So let's continue with Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3. Let's read from verse number 17 to 21. Yastvat maratireva syat atmatriptascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyate. Naiva tasya kritenarthaha na kriteneha kaschana na chasya sarvabhuteshu kaschidarthavyapashayaha tasmadasaktas satatam karyam karma samachara asakto hyacharan karma Paramapnoti Purushaha Karmaneva hi samsiddhim Astita Janakadayaha Yoga Sangrahamevapi Sampashyan Kartumarhasi Yadyadacharati Shreshtaha Tattadevetaro Janaha Sayat Pramanam Kurute Lokastad anuvartate. All right. So now here, verse number 17. Yastu atmarati reva syat. Atmarati eva. We saw the cosmic chain. Starting from Bhagavan, right, to the Vedas, to action, to the spirit of yajna, to then prosperity and abundance and life. And we saw this whole cosmic chain. And the question was, is anyone exempt from this cosmic chain? So in verse number 17, it said, yes. Who is it? Atmaratihi, the one who revels in the self. Atma triptaha, the one who's satisfied in the self. And Atma santushtaha, the one who's content in the self. Tasya karyam na vidyate. There is no work to be done for this person. This person is exempt from the cosmic cycle. And why is there no work to be done for this person? We see now in verse number 18 that there's only work to be done. There's only kartavya if there is praptavya. There's only work to be done if there is a desire. So as long as one is full of desires, full of aspirations, full of I want to be able to do this or to get this or to gain this, as long as there is this kind of thought, then there's going to be things to do, because desire is something that pushes us into action. It pushes us. But for this person, kritenartaha na akritena, there is no interest, there's no prayojana, there's no goal to do anything or to not do anything. So if they do anything, okay. If they don't do something, okay. There's no compulsion that I should do this or I should not do this. There's no such compulsion, because there's nothing that they want. Tasya karyam na vidyate. There's nothing that they want out of life. They've realized their fullness. And they have no artha vyapashraya in verse 18. They have no dependence on people. So, we also do things because we need people. So I will help you so that you can help me sometimes. I will do this for you so that maybe you can do this for me sometimes. But for them, there's no dependence on people. If they don't do okay, their only sole dependence is on God. And so for these people, there is no compulsion to act. There's nothing pushing them to act. And so then we see, but Arjuna, are you there yet? Lord Krishna says, no, Arjuna, long way to go. And therefore in verse 19, he says, Arjuna, tasmat. This tasmat means because karma yoga is such a wonderful purification, it's a wonderful sadhana. It brings about this purity called selflessness. The gift of karma yoga is selflessness, appreciation. It helps us to have gratitude and continue this cosmic cycle. And because, Arjuna, you're not ready for knowledge, and many of us also, therefore, satatam karyam samachara means perform this karma yoga asaktaha, without attachment. Always do your karma yoga without attachment. And because this karma yoga is a tool to gain jnana yoga or sankhya yoga, as we saw, and this will give us moksha. And a deeper analysis of this we'll see in the upcoming verses. So therefore, Arjuna, please do karma yoga. And then Lord Krishna says, I'll give you examples of people who have done karma yoga in their lives and have attained utmost purity. So in verse 20, he says, karma neva hi samsiddhim astitaha. So by karma, many people have attained this perfection by karma yoga. Like who? Janakadaya, like Janaka, etc. And they did karma loka sangraham eva api. They did karma to help the people, for the welfare of the people. Therefore, sampashyan, having a view of this, you also perform it. So many great people have walked on this path to perfection. Karma yoga followed by jnana yoga. And there are enough examples. So therefore, Arjuna, perform karma yoga. Then Lord Krishna gives a very beautiful reason why also Arjuna should perform karma yoga and how he should do it. So he says in verse number 21, Yadyadacharati shreshtaha tattadeve taro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. What this verse says is, yat, whatever acharati, whatever a great person does, shreshta means a great person does, that the people follow. Tatta devataro janaha sayat pramanam. And this becomes the pramanam. This becomes their means of knowledge. Sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. The world follows that. So here, we can see, we'll take a little bit of a deeper look at this statement today. we see in this world that whatever people do, now whether they're great or not great, people will follow. And people follow by emulation. Sometimes parents will say, speak the truth, speak the truth. And so we give our children so much literature about speaking the truth and holding on to their word. And then all of a sudden, somebody in the family says a lie. Then all the scriptures that were taught to that child is gone. But at the same time, if the child says or sees that the parents are upholding sat, upholding the truth and upholding dharma, then all the scriptures will come to its fructification. They will say, I don't need the scripture because I have seen my mother or I have seen my father. And this is what Gurudev also said. He said a beautiful quote wherein he says, the mothers of the house, you are the guru. If you live a life of pure example of the Shastras, then there's no guru needed. So whatever people do, people follow. There was one story, one person, he went to Rameshwaram. And now what he wanted to do, so he was by the beach. And what he wanted to do was, he wanted to take a bath before his worship. And so he had a copper vessel. Now, those who are going for bhiksha, they carry specific vessels, etc. He had a copper vessel. So he said, I must bury this in the sand and then go for bath, because how will I bring this vessel there? So I'll bury it in the sand. But how will I know where I bury it? Because sand everywhere. How will you know? He said, if I put a mark, then people will know something is there. So what do I do? He said, okay, I'll make a Shivalinga. I'll make a Shivalinga out of sand. I'll make a Shivalinga and then I will go for bath. So nicely he went for bath. Then somebody else came. They saw Shivalinga there. And they saw that this person had gone for bath in the river. So this person said, oh, it must be that you have to make a Shivalinga before you go for bath. So this person also made a Shivalinga and then went for bath. And then the other person came and he said, oh, I think that's what you're supposed to do. So he also made Shivalinga. And before you know it, there were so many Shivalingas made out of sand. Now, when this first person came out, he said, now, oh my God, literally, oh my God, the God is everywhere. I don't know where my copper vessel is. And he says, this is the state of the world. The state of the world is like this. When one person does, everyone starts to emulate. And that's why anybody in a position, any such position, has to be so careful. Because we're not only following our dharma, but everybody's looking at us also. It said with great, great power comes great responsibility. So whatever great people do, and even the not great, it's followed by people. So imagine if this Arjuna ran away, as we said. Imagine if he ran away. Imagine if he just surrendered to Duryodhana. What would we follow? In our culture, we are very, very fortunate. We are very, very fortunate that we have this Puranas and Itihasas that are a great model for us to follow. When Yudhishthira, when the Pandavas were going to go for war, and this is right before they were going for war, Sri Krishna went to Hastinapur, remember, to deliver that message of peace, hopefully to get peace. But of course, Duryodhana was so stubborn. And so Sri Krishna went to Kunti. He went to Kunti. Now, Kunti Devi has not seen her sons for 13 years. She has not seen her sons. And Sri Krishna says, what message do you want me to give to your sons? And Kunti Devi said, you tell Yudhishthira the story of Vidula. Tell him her story. What's the story of Vidula? So Kunti now refers to another story that she had heard. There was this Prince Sanjaya, and he was being attacked by the king of Sindh. He was being attacked by the king of Sindh, and he was being defeated. And he ran to his mother, hoping to get some compassion, some solace. She looked at him and she said, get up, Go back and fight. Right? Don't come to me for any compassion. Get up. Either you go and you defeat the enemy or you die in the battlefield. And he tells her, but what kind of mother are you? I don't even feel like you're my mother. She says, I am your mother, and I will honor you when you come back and you defeat the enemy. And he says, but how do I do it? She says, you have to build allies. Don't you know, whoever's the enemy of that king, you build allies with them and get up and you go fight. And so he just looks at her. He's just astounded. He says, this is my mother. She says, yes, I'm your mother. And so Kunti tells Sri Krishna, now you remember that example. And you tell Yudhishthira about Vidula, about this mother Vidula. And you tell Yudhishthira the purpose for which a Kshatriya woman gives birth, that purpose is served when her son or her children defeat the enemy or die in the battlefield. What kind of thing is that? This is the glory of our itihasas. They give us such a beautiful example to emulate. There's so many Shrestha men and women in our itihasas. Another one is Queen Madalasa. Now, this Queen Madalasa, she was an enlightened being, and she gave birth to her children. I think she had about 4 sons. Now, while, the mothers, they sing lullabies to their children. Now, you should hear her lullaby to her son. Her lullaby is, you are ever pure. You are ever true. You are the very self. And this is not your body. Why are you crying? This is not your name. Why are you crying? You are Brahman. Wake up from this dream world. This is her lullaby to her children. So this is so beautiful. So when we have such great examples to go by, yad yadacharati shreshtaha, it paves the way for us. Because sometimes, we need that. We have the scriptures, and the scriptures are beautiful. But we are such a generation, especially now, that we need audio-visual. Now we don't read. Now people don't read. We send emails. We say, oh, we wrote this. They say, but I didn't see it. It's there. We don't read. We don't listen. But 2 minutes video we can watch and understand. But more than that, it's too much for us, isn't it? So yad yadacharati shreshtaha. When we have a live example, there's nothing more powerful than that. And that was true, as I told you, about Gurudev's life also, and the lives of our saints and sages. So that's why Sri Krishna says, now Arjuna, you are a powerful example. Whether you like it or not, you are born to the Kshatriya race. You are a prince. And this is your dharma. Everybody's watching you. And so you have that responsibility. What you do, people will follow. And so now Arjuna feels like, what to do. And Lord Krishna says, now Lord Krishna, the beauty about Lord Krishna is, he's not teaching by words. He's saying, Arjuna, you look at me. You look at me. I am doing the same thing. I am not just telling you in words, but look at my life too. And so this is now where we will continue from today. Verse number 22. Name parthasti kartavyam.
Name parthasi kartavyam.
Trishu lokeshu kinchana.
Trishu lokeshu kinchana.
Nanavaptamavaptavyam.
Nanavaptamavaptavyam.
Varta eva cha karmani.
Varta eva cha karmani.
Name parthasti kartavyam. Trishu lokeshu kinchana. nanavaptamavaptavyam varta eva cha karmani. So it says here, Arjuna, don't think I'm just speaking. Please also observe my life. Observe my life. He says, na me partha asti kartavyam. That for me, Partha, there is no kartavya. There is nothing to do. There's nothing to be done. Trishu lokeshu kinchana. In the three worlds, there's not even a wee bit. Kinchana. Not even a wee bit is there to be done. Nana vaptam avaptavyam. There is na anavaptam. There is nothing unattained. Lord Krishna says there's nothing unattained by me. Avaptavyam, that needs to be attained. But yet, varata eva chakarami. But yet, I engage in action. This varata is varate, but it gets a lopa. Varata eva chakarmani. So he says, there's nothing in the three worlds, O Partha, that has to be done by me. Nor is there anything unattained that should be attained by me. Yet, I engage myself in action. Now, what a wonderful thing. Now, see, Lord Krishna, where does he belong to? He belongs to the category of Shrestha, right? Because he is in a position. Lord Krishna is a king. He's a king. He's in a position. He's an avatar. And he's not only Shrestha, but he belongs to the category of Atmarati, Atmatripta, Atmasantushtaha. He belongs to that category of the one who has realized the self. He's realized the self. And I don't need to act, Lord Krishna is saying. I don't need to do anything. For me, there's nothing really to be done. And there is nothing to be attained. Because one who has realized the self, there's nothing to gain. Na avaptam. Na anavaptam. There's nothing to attain. Avaptavyam. So then, but yet he says, but yet I work. But yet I still continue to do my part. And so this is very beautiful because even if Lord Krishna didn't need to do anything, he still did. Because he wanted people to understand what his avatar was about. Both Lord Krishna and both Sri Rama came to this world to show us how to rule, how to lead, how to guide. Now I'm going to read you a few things from Srimad Bhagavatam so we can see how Lord Krishna led by his life. His whole life was selfless ever since he was born. Imagine, ever since Lord Krishna was born, he had one after the other. At Putana, Shakatasura, and then all these asuras. And then he had Kamsa, and then the feat at Govardhana mountain. One after the other, after the Jarasandha. One after the other, he had people coming to him and troubling him. But still he withstood everything with utmost calm and peace. Now, this is how Lord Sri Krishna lived. I'll just read a few lines so that we can get an idea. This comes in Srimad Bhagavatam. Those who want to read, it comes in the 10th canto, in the 70th discourse. Now listen to Lord Krishna's life. He can do whatever he wants to. He's a realized person. Waking up about 2 hours and a half before sunrise, Brahma Muhurta. Brahma Muhurta. Sri Krishna would first wash his hands and feet and rinse his mouth. And with a serene mind, meditate on the self, beyond Prakriti, that is one without a second, self-luminous and indestructible, which is by virtue of its own nature, eternally free from the taint of avidya. Right? And this is Sri Krishna himself. So he meditates on himself once he wakes up. What time does he wake up? 4 o'clock before Brahma Muhurta. Then what does he do after this? Then after this, Sri Krishna would take a plunge bath in pure water and put on 2 pieces of cloth and perform according to the injunctions of the scriptures Sandhya and the other obligatory rites, and having poured oblations in the sacred fire would repeat the Gayatri mantra. So he would also do Sandhya Vandanam. This is Sri Krishna. And then we also don't do Sandhya Vandanam. He would stand before the rising sun and offer prayers to the sun god and handfuls of water to the gods. And so then he would meet, he would meet everybody. I won't read the whole thing because it's very long. He would salute the elders, the brahmanas, the cows, and then he would listen to whatever they require, whatever they need, he would fulfill. And then just about when he's ready, he gets up on his charioteer comes, Satyaki comes and takes him to the sabha or assembly. And there he does his full dharma in the sabha and assembly. And in that sabha, Lord Sri Krishna also used to listen to the stories of great people. And this is what they did in their, for their entertainment. Entertainment for them was enlightenment. They used to listen to such beautiful stories of great people, so they also would know how to be, how to act. So this is Sri Krishna. So name parthasti kartavyam. I don't have to do anything. There's nothing I want to gain. I could simply sit. But no, he's so aware that he plays a role. And in that role, he's aware that people are watching him. And therefore, he plays it with such fervor. It's a game for him. He plays it as a game. And this is what makes Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna. So now, let's see the next verse. I'll just read what Gurudev has written here in the commentary in the last paragraph. Very nice. This is about Sri Krishna. The life of the Lord till the very moment of the Mahabharata war had been a perfect life of complete detachment. Complete, and we saw this in Sri Krishna. And yet, even though there was nothing he had not gained, nor had he anything further to gain, he engaged himself constantly in activity, as though work itself was to him a rapturous game of enthusiasm and joy. So this was his life. So he's not just telling Arjuna, do this. He says, Arjuna, even I'm doing this. So this is very important. Whenever we want to work with people or inspire people, when we say, do this, it's not inspiring at all. But when we say, you know what, even I'm doing this. Or even if we don't say, but even if we are doing it, then that person will feel more inspired to do it. But if we ourselves are not doing, and then we say, do it, nobody will listen. There won't be satyata to our words. I'm sure you know this story. So I'll tell you very briefly the story because it's very, very nice. There's this one child who had a chocolate, addicted to chocolate. He was addicted to chocolate. And so, his mother didn't know what to do. She didn't know what to do. This child was just too addicted to chocolate. So she went to Mom Vihar, she went to Mommy Poppins, all these websites, but she couldn't figure out what to do with her child. So she said, I'll bring him to a Mahatma. And she said, she was very wise. She said, I know that when I bring my child to a Mahatma, then things will work out. So she brought the son and she said, Mahatma Ji, now my son has a chocolate problem. He just wants to eat chocolate. I tried everything. I tried not giving him money also, but he talks to his friends and tells them, give me chocolate. I tried everything, but he's still eating chocolate. And so the Mahatma Ji said, okay, you come back after 1 week and then I'll talk to your son. And then, so she's kind of wondering why after 1 week. After 1 week, she comes back. And then what happens? She says, okay, you come back after the Mahatma says, you come back after 1 more week and then I will talk to your son. And she says, that's going to be 2 weeks. And the Mahatma says, yes, yes, you come back. So after 2 weeks, she comes back to the Mahatma. The Mahatma says, now you come back after 1 more week. She says, that's 3 weeks. And so after 3 weeks, she goes to the Mahatma with her son. And then the Mahatma, of course, speaks to the son and everything works out. And so the mother asked the Mahatma very curiously, why did you make me wait 3 weeks before you talked to my son? And the Mahatma said, I myself had chocolate problem. I myself was addicted to chocolate. So how could I tell your son? So I needed 3 weeks, 21 days, to break a habit, to make a habit. I needed 3 weeks to do this so that I could tell your son. This is the kind of leadership that works when we actually do it. When we don't do it, then nobody will do it. Nobody will be inspired to do it. So this is what Lord Shri Krishna is teaching us. And he tells Arjuna, you know, if I didn't do this, if I didn't live my life this way, then what would happen? Because some people think, look, Shri Krishna, why don't you just sit quietly? Why don't you just relax? Why unnecessarily take all of this and go through it? He says, no, Arjuna, if I don't do this, then this is what happens. So we read now, verse 23. Yadi hyaham navarteyam.
Yadi hyaham navarteyam.
Jatu karmanyatandritaha.
Jatu karmanyatandritaha.
Mama vartmanuvartante.
Mama vartmanuvartante.
Manushya partha sarvashaha.
Manushya partha sarvashaha.
Yadi hyaham navarteyam. Jatu karmanyatandritaha. Mama vartmanuvartante. Manushya partha sarvashaha. Okay, 1 minute. So everyone, please make sure you're on mute and yeah. Okay, all right. He says, Yadi hi aham navarteyam. If I did not engage in action, Yadi hi aham navarteyam. Jatu, ever. If I did not ever engage in action, then karamani atandritaha. And how, without relaxation, if I did not engage in action without relaxation, mama vartma anuvartante, mama vartma, my path, anuvartante manushyaha sarvashaha. All the people would follow my path. Everybody would follow it. So he says, for should I not ever engage myself in action without relaxation, men would in every way follow my path, O son of Pritha Bharata. So, atandritaha, this word means ceaselessly, tirelessly. If I did not continuously do action, then people would follow that. People would think that it's okay. Sri Krishna did it, so it's also okay. And Lord Krishna says this would cause a lot of problems. Now imagine if, it's not that everybody has to engage in action. Everybody has come for a particular purpose. Everyone has come for a particular purpose. And every Mahatma has their own inclination. So there are some Mahatmas, their natural expression is silence. And for them, that's what they should do, because that itself is a blessing to the world. For some Mahatmas, their natural expression is devotion. It's just singing the name of God, repeating the name of God. And that's what they should do, because that's a blessing. And also we know that some Mahatmas, their natural expression is to share knowledge, to give knowledge. And that's what they should do. Because if they don't do that, then who will teach us? Right? If people don't come and don't share this, who will teach us? And there are some also who come for a specific avatara, like Sri Krishna. There are some who come, Arjuna, who will later prove himself to be a Mahatma, who come for a specific purpose. And so they should also express what needs to be expressed. So don't think that all Mahatmas need to be engaged in action, or all of them need to be quiet, or all of them need to be in deep devotion. It's as per their natural expression and as per the purpose of their avatara. So Sri Krishna's avatara was a king. As a king, he was a ruler, he was an administrator. Our Swami Ramakrishna fondly calls Sri Krishna the CEO, and he tells exactly how he's the perfect CEO. So this is what he's come with. So he says, now if I don't do it, now everybody will think it's okay not to perform their roles. Now further, he explains what will happen. What's the problem? What's the problem if people in society do not perform their roles according to their expression? So we'll read now verse 24. Utsideyurime loka.
Utsideyurime loka.
Na kuryam karma chedaham.
Na kuryam karma chedaham.
Sankarasya cha kartasyam.
Sankarasya cha kartasyam.
Upahanyami ma prajaha.
Upahanyami ma prajaha.
Utsideyurime lokaha. Na kuryam karma chedaham. Sankarasya cha kartasyam. Upahanyami ma prajaha. So he says, aha, if I na karma kuryam, if I don't do karma, according to my expression, then what happens? Lokaha, these worlds, utsideyuhu, ime lokaha, utsideyuhu, these worlds would perish. They would perish. Why? Sankarasya chakarta syam. I would be Syam, I would be the karta, the doer of sankarasya. Sankarasya means the confusion of castes, and we'll come to this term. Upahanyam imaf prajaha. This would destroy all the beings. So these worlds would perish if I did not perform action. I would be the author of confusion of castes and would destroy these beings. So what is Lord Krishna saying here? Now, see, this caste and everything will come in chapter 4. So in chapter 4, we will take it up at length. But really what this caste word means is varna. And we all know varna is the inclination, natural inclination of a person. And so he says now, the way our society was built is that everybody functions in the field of their natural inclination. And if they let go of that, then what would happen? So let's say now Sri Krishna's avatara, the inclination, the expression of Sri Krishna's avatara is a kshatriya. Now imagine if Sri Krishna left. He left and he went to the forest. What would this tell the world? What would be the message for the world? It's okay if you're a kshatriya, if you're a warrior. Kshatriya means warrior. If you're a kshatriya, if you're a warrior, it's okay to leave everything and go. But that's not okay. That's not okay, because if that's the message, then the whole grahastha, the whole establishment of marriage would collapse. If any man, any woman could leave their marriage just like that, because they want sannyas, they want to renounce the world, that whole ashrama would collapse. And if that whole ashrama collapses, if this beautiful marriage, this marriage, this relationship, this establishment of marriage, if this collapses, the whole society collapses, because the whole society is based on marriages, on grahastha. That's how sannyasis are able to do what they do. That's how vanaprastha, or the retired people, are able to do what they do. And that's how students are able to study. It's because of this establishment of grahastha. So if Lord Krishna just walks out and just goes to the forest while he is in grahastha ashrama, while he is a ruler, while he's taking care of so many matters, what would happen? What signal would that send out to us? That you can get up and leave. And if he were to do that, now, Lord Sri Krishna has an entire fan club. An entire fan club. Everybody would leave everything and go to him, right? And so he says, I can't shake society. Just think, those who have that expression to study, to learn knowledge, to perform austerity, and to sit quietly in contemplation, those who we call the brahmanas, who have this inclination, those people, if they stop doing this, what would happen? We would not have knowledge. We would not have knowledge being passed down. And if the kshatriyas, the warriors, the men and women warriors, if they said, okay, we're not going to fight, we'll lay down our weapons, for a just cause, I'm saying, for a just cause, if they're saying we're not going to fight, we're just going to lay down our weapons, what would happen? Then adharma would feel like adharma can prevail. Those who are in the adharmic side, they'll feel like adharma can prevail. Those who are rulers, let's say, if they say, now I don't feel like ruling anymore, I just want to be quiet, what would happen? Those people who are in the establishment of marriage, if they say, now I just want to sit and meditate. No, not yet. Wait till vanaprastha. You can meditate, of course, but to be deeply, deeply involved in just that pursuit, one needs to graduate to a different ashrama. If the Vaishyas, if those who are responsible for producing wealth in society, if they cheated everybody, then what would happen? Or if they themselves said, no, I don't want to make money anymore, I'm going out. So it's if Lord Krishna gives this wrong idea, then people will follow it. And he was so conscious of that this is the purpose for which I have taken birth. And so I cannot cause confusion. And we saw the way he lived his life. He got up early, he meditated, he did his Gayatri mantra, he attended to the assembly, he took care of everybody, and he used to listen to beautiful stories of wisdom, and any matters that were brought to him, he would take care of, because rightly he was a king. So he's trying to teach us that this is how he lived. And if he just left, then there would be mass confusion. Now, but as I said, there's some Mahatmas, Nitya Avatars, who come and their life is of solitude. And that's completely okay, because maybe they weren't kings or queens or princes or princesses. So their lives were in solitude. That's okay, because that was their purpose. But Sri Krishna's purpose was different. So his whole point was, Arjuna, everybody's watching you. You are a Shrestha person, a great person. What you do, people will follow. Therefore, set the right example. And I'm not just telling you to set the right example. I am showing you that I am that very example. I also had to go through this. I also had to do this. So now you get up and you do the same. This was his message to Arjuna. And now, and Lord Krishna tells Arjuna beautifully now how, what is the difference? So some people might ask, okay, now an ignorant person must work in the world. A wise person must work in the world. It's not an injunction for a wise person. Remember, it's based on their expression. So an ignorant person works in the world, a wise person works in the world. What's the difference? What's the difference? And why even do it? So very nicely in verse 25, Sri Krishna makes this very clear for us. Saktah karmanya vidvamsah.
Sakta karmanya vidvamsah.
Yatha kurvanti bharata.
Yatha kurvanti bharata.
Kuryad vidvams tatha saktah.
Kuryad vidvams tadha saktah.
Chikirshu loka sangraham.
Chikirshuloka sangraham.
Saktah karmanya vidvamsah. Yatha kurvanti bharata. Kuryad vidvams tatha saktah. Chikirshu loka sangraham. So here he says, saktaha. Saktaha means attached. Karmani, attached to action. Avidvamsaha, the ignorant ones. Kurvanti, they act. So, yatha, just as the ignorant ones act, but they're attached. They're, attached to their action. Oh Bharata, oh Arjuna, Vidvan kuryat, the wise should act asaktaha, unattached. Chikir shuhu, wishing loka sangraham, for the welfare of the world. So as the ignorant men act from attachment to action, O Bharata, so should the wise act without attachment, wishing the welfare of the world. So both are acting now with the same zeal, with the same enthusiasm that this ignorant person is acting in the world. The wise person also acts, but the wise person acts without attachment. The ignorant person acts with attachment. Now, today, for this verse, we're going to take a little bit of a more reflective look to see where we are. So there's an ignorant person, there's a realized person, there's also an in-between person. So first we will look at the ignorant person, then the realized person, and then we will see what does a person in between look like. So for this, I will show you a chart. And so we can analyze. Now this chart, we've spoken so much about the dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna, but now let's bring it to our lives. So this chart is going to be about us, analyzing our actions and how they are in our lives. Okay, so let us see here. So now here, okay. So here's Ajnani. Ajnani means ignorant. Jnani means wise, realized. So the first is, Ajnani is attached. So we go one by one first, okay? Ajnani is attached, Jnani is detached. What does attached mean? Remember what attached means. I plus something. I plus blank equals fulfillment. So attached means that I need something to complete me. And that's why I'm acting. I plus something is fulfillment or completion, and I need that blank, and that's why I act. Jnani is somebody who's detached. So I equals fulfillment. I am fulfilled already. So there's no need to, there's really nothing that is needed or required or wanted. For the Ajnani, of course, it's a selfish affair. Because remember, the Ajnani is coming from that vision of, I need that to complete me, so that's what I want. I want again. Now the Jnani, because the Jnani is already fulfilled, it's really for the welfare of the world. It's not their, it's not like they want anything. And so Ajnani has strong doership, strong identification with this body, mind, intellect. And we will see what this means in the upcoming verses. They're very beautiful verses to this. And for the Jnani, there's no doership. Because remember, the ego has been dissolved. That's part of knowledge, right? Knowledge removes the reality of the world of the ego. So the ego has been dissolved. So here there's strong enjoyership. Strong enjoyership means there's a lot of ups and downs, because sometimes we'll get joy, sometimes sorrow. So the strong feeling of, yes, I got it. No, I didn't get it. Strong ups and downs. So when we see this in our actions, this is not a chart. This is our lives. When we see this in our actions, it means that we still need work. But when there's no enjoyership, means there's perfect equanimity. That is a Jnani. And whatever has to happen will happen. And so this leads to the next point, wherein for Ajnani, there's a lot of insistence and control. So when we're acting, we feel like, I hope it goes this way, or it should go this way, or this should happen. There's like strong insistence. Then we're in for samsara big time. But for the Jnani, there's a very deep sense of acceptance and surrender. Oh, whatever happens is okay. Because remember, we're not being completed by the action. So it's okay. And surrender to the higher. It's okay. Totally okay. Totally okay. And so because the Ajnani now is focused on the results, it is very clear that they're focused on the results, because there's a lot of insistence and control. Mind is very rajasic, very disturbed. Am I going to get it? Am I not going to get it? It's going to happen. It's not going to happen. This and that. So many things will happen in the mind. But for a Jnani, the mind's very sattvic, because it's just involved in the action and just moving along. And, so people say, I'm so passionate about it. So Ajnani is when there's this deep driven passion that's very often uncontrolled, uncontrolled. But with a Jnani, there's compassion. They're acting because it's their natural expression. Again, I said, it's just the way, see, the body, the mind, they all have to keep going, right? They have to keep doing their thing. And so the natural expression is to share, to engage. And so they do it out of their compassion. But at the same time, it's a lot of dispassion. So if people listen, if people engage, if people get it, wonderful. The Jnani feels that I've tasted something so deep, so precious, that let me share it with everybody. And if they get it, okay. If they don't get it, okay. So there's that dispassion. Not that they should get it. Like when the parent raises their child, they'll say, okay, I'm sharing this with my child. I hope they get it. They better get it. And if they don't get it, then what happens? So nothing like that for Jnani. They don't get it. They don't get it. It's okay. It's okay. And so this is compassion with dispassion. And so for Ajnani, it feels like work, feels like stress. It feels like pressure, things like that. Oh, like heart's beating so fast. But for Jnani, it's really worship. So in a Jnani, there's this thing, did I shine Did everybody recognize me? Did they appreciate me? Did my name stand out? Did I get credit? But for Jnani, it's, did I lose myself in thine? Did I get lost in God? And that's perfection in action, right? When we completely forget ourselves and we're just lost in God. That's what the Jnani is thinking. So this, in its true essence, is actually Karma Yoga. Its truest meaning. This is what we call in the left part here, that's called karma. It's just called action. It cannot be a yoga. Because remember, yoga is something that unites us to the higher. So if action has to unite us to the higher, then it's got to become this nature. It's got to become this nature. So now the question comes in our mind, well, I'm not ajnani, not like I don't know, but I'm not jnani, not like I know. What happens to me? So what happens to a seeker who's on the path? So a seeker who's on the path is in between. And and I did not write the in between on purpose, because I want you to write it. I want you to write it and me to write it. I want us to write our own story. In between, it's not that we're attached like crazy, but it's not that we're detached completely. The in between, how Gurudev puts it so nicely, is that they're detached from the lower, but attached to the higher. So they've let go of lower things, but they're attached to something higher. Maybe it's society, working for the welfare of society or the community, or the nation. So they've got such a more bigger goal, a bigger outlook in life. Maybe they might not be fulfilled yet, but they've got vast and huge goals, which are very respectable. And in this one, as far as it's a selfish affair, and this is a world welfare, here it's more like this act is going to help me grow and purify. I'm in this path of Karma Yoga. I'm slowly making my way to Jnana Yoga. So I see this action as a way for me to grow and to purify. And so in terms of the doership and enjoyership, here will be less. The ego is still there. Ego is still there. It's not removed, because only knowledge removes the ego. So ego is still there, but it's less of the doership, less of the enjoyership. More and more, we feel like we're becoming instruments of God. And in terms of insistence and control and acceptance and surrender, more and more we feel that we have acceptance, but there's still some things we hope to happen, still some things we would like to happen. So there's still some element of insistence. It's not a full surrender. One who's on the path of Karma Yoga, still not full surrender, because full surrender can only happen when your ego is completely surrendered. And in terms of here, Rajasika and Sattvika, so Rajas and Sattva mixed, Mishra. Here's predominantly Rajasic, here's predominantly Sattvic. Here it's in between, because the Rajas is getting exhausted. And where, as we see here, deep passion and compassion with dispassion. So as we sit here, it's really a lot of care and love for who we're working for or who we're doing things for. So a lot of compassion is there, definitely, but not so much dispassion. As I said, there is that compassion, but we still want things to turn a certain way or be a certain way. And in the person who's in between, yes, did I lose myself in thine? But secretly, did I also shine? There's that, like, secretly, did they recognize? Secretly, did they see? There's some notion that I don't want my name to be called. I don't want my name to be called. And then if nobody asks you, then why didn't they ask me if I wanted my name to be called? So there is that, on the fly, like in front, we appear that we don't want to be recognized, but inside there's still that wee bit. This all happens in the midsection here, midsection. So now we will know, are we in this left section, Jnani? Are we in this section, Jnani? Or are we in the midsection? And then that's how we can progress further. We have to know where we stand. Then only we know how to move ahead. Today I took a few extra minutes. Sorry about that. I can't see time when I share, which is a wonderful thing. So this was Lord Sri Krishna's message to Arjuna. So again, as I said, it's not only Sri Krishna's message to Arjuna, it's Sri Krishna's message to us and what we should do in our lives and how we can also slowly improve. All right, so we'll say the closing prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So